And after that, the founder of Luna, Do Kwon, actually just basically just called you an idiot.
He called you an idiot.
Cryptocurrency exchange.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Chain Debrief podcast, and today we have a very special guest with us. You might have heard him on our Twitter space a few weeks ago. So we have Jack Niewold with us. So, I think we've brought you around Singapore for the past few days. So how do you like Singapore? I think it's your first time here in Asia, right?
Yeah, it's my first time in Singapore, first time in Asia in general. It's incredible. You guys have been phenomenal hosts. Excellent food, excellent weather. Incredible city. It's been so much fun just a few days I've been here.
What's your fondest memory?
The fondest memory, I don't know. The food, you guys are so lucky to have like this blend of cultures because you have such a variety of really interesting, really delicious food. It's so cool to eat all the food and the hawker centers, the cheap food. Oh, it's so good. In specific,
Cannot choose.
I don't know. It's hard to say. The chili crab was really delicious.
Got
it was
it.
really delicious. McSpicy.
McSpicy, yeah. It's first time having McSpicy, right? Wow. Okay, so I think we'll just get right onto it. So why don't you introduce yourself and your the Crypto Pragmatist as well?
Sure, yeah. So I'm Jack Niewold. I'm the founder of Crypto Pragmatist. It's a research publication for generally oriented at retail investors. We publish a weekly newsletter and then bi-monthly research reports on assets and narratives in crypto. And obviously I'm on Twitter quite a bit. So, yeah.
So Jack has like around 100k followers on Twitter. So, and you mostly do Twitter threads, right? Like around two a week, is it?
Yeah, I do. I try to get a couple threads out a week. I don't have like a super fixed schedule, but yeah, mostly it's a couple threads a week.
So what's the process like? Like how do you, what's the research process and how do you actually come from researching and actually producing a long Twitter thread?
You know, I'm sure it's a lot of the tools people use, most people kind of crypto investors use. So like Twitter obviously is like a good way to keep a pulse on the big events. If you can ever like find a wallet that's relevant on Etherscan or DBank or Nansen, that's obviously hugely helpful. You know, charting some of that stuff out occasionally or getting into the documentation of a specific protocol. The most important thing for threads for me though is just like making sure you're staying updated always to like what's the hottest event of the day, what are people talking about on that specific day. Like today is people are talking about coffee for some reason and if coffee's good or bad, and then like the Tiffany NFTs. So yeah, like I'm sure those are two opportunities to write a thread. Maybe the coffee thing is not super crypto relevant, but bear market things, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the Twitter metagame, is like making sure you're writing about something relevant that people want to read about, something that provides value, some alpha is always good. So that's kind of my approach generally.
And what's your day-to-day like?
My day-to-day, well, I have been recently for the last month or so. I was in Europe this summer, but earlier this summer at least. I live on the coast in Mexico. So I get up, head into a co-working space, check out Twitter, you know, read some articles, check the group chats, check my emails, check Telegram, see if there's any opportunities, and then do some writing for the newsletter itself. And then the afternoon, maybe writing a thread or meetings, you know, online meetings a lot of the time. And then in the afternoon, I try to get out and go for like a run on the beach and a swim, and then come back, eat dinner with my girlfriend, and watch some Netflix or something. It's not too exciting, but it's fun, and never a dull day in crypto. So
That sounds like a pretty chill schedule. And like, how long do you take to finish one whole thread?
Most of the time it's like a half day, so it's either the morning or the afternoon. But if you kind of got your process outlined, it's important to be quick, right? Yeah. Because the first person to get a thread, you know, to kind of like break the news on Twitter, you know, is the one who gets a lot of retweets and a lot of engagement and a lot of, you know, like activity around that thread. So yeah, you gotta be really quick. So maybe like a couple hours, 4 hours, something like that.
Yeah, and I think speaking of Twitter, I think most of our viewers and I think our community as well, they knew about you through Twitter, and I think the event which caused that was mainly when you not called out, but you gave an analytical opinion on Luna, And after that, the founder of Luna, Do Kwon, actually just basically just called you an idiot, I think.
He called you an idiot.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He roasted me.
Okay.
So I had heard some rumblings. I'm pretty well connected in this space, so sometimes you hear a little rumor here, a little rumor there, and I had been hearing some rumors around Luna and around the way they were kind of managing the business side of things and the token spends, and then really early on when they had like the Chai wallet that they had done this pre-mine of stable coins, and they weren't just a bunch of little rumors. And I said, okay, it's probably worth doing a little bit of a dive into this. And I did not think it would get the attention it got. Luna at that moment had a very, very strong group of supporters, and I think a lot of them in Asia. I think
In Korea.
it's really, Korea probably got hit really hard by the Luna stuff. So posted the thread, went to bed, and then woke up the next morning and it was like death threats in my Twitter inbox, and Do Kwon calling me the biggest idiot in the history of cryptocurrency. So yeah, it felt pretty bad at the time. And then I got a little bit of redemption, obviously, when Luna did fall apart. But at the same time, you can't be happy about that event, right? That takes out so many retail investors and wipes out so much wealth from crypto and so much reputation from crypto. So it was kind of a lose-lose situation at the end of the day. And I'm not sure if I would have done the same thing if I had to live life over again. But it was an interesting learning experience, I think, for not only for me, but for the entire space and for a lot of retail investors as well.
Yeah, and I think going on to more like macro conditions, because I think the whole Luna thing, it basically but it was one of the factors which caused everything to just crash.
Right.
And right now we're probably still in a bear market. So what are your opinions? Like, are we still have we bottomed out, or do you think we'll go even lower? Yeah,
it's hard to say. I've been kind of keeping track of a bottom signal list.
Yeah.
On Twitter, and it definitely feels like we're getting closer and closer to the bottom, if we're not at the bottom. But May, June was like event after event of something completely unprecedented, right? Where it was like, at first the Luna collapsed the Bitcoin, and then we saw like the Celsius, and they caused a bunch of sell-offs for not only their own token, but they were kind of selling treasury stuff. We saw like minor capitulations for Bitcoin, for miners selling Bitcoin, and then obviously 3AC most recently. Shout out Singapore. But yeah, so I think crypto is still like a very niche market. It's like a $1 trillion market cap. So on some level, there's some level of isolation from macro, and in some ways it's not completely correlated with equities and with macro. If I had to guess, I'd say, we have bottomed, at a $850, $1,000 ETH and a $20,000 Bitcoin, if I had to guess. But that doesn't mean, I'd bet, I'd go all in right now or anything, right? Like, macro's still up in the air. And honestly, I will say, macro's very, very hard to predict. So it's just so hard to get a good idea, a good handle on macro, and kind of have any edge trading assets around macro conditions. But we'll see how it goes, and I'm optimistic.
You mentioned that you have a list of like, bottom lists and reasons.
Yeah.
What are some of those?
Man, it's hard. I know there's 14 of them. Some of it's like kind of sentiment ideas. So like less activity on Twitter, and like people leaving the space, like prominent influencers leaving the space, stuff like that. And other is like kind of more technical stuff. So like across of the 200-week simple moving average is like a technical indicator.
Yeah.
I have the list somewhere, but it's a lot. It's a really wide variety. And obviously, I don't think it's like perfect, right? Once all 14 get hit, it'll just like turn around, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of, you got to read that. And the same way with the top signals. But it's good to keep an eye on, and I think there's definitely some validity to like looking at sentiment to kind of predict market bottoms, market tops, or at least moments where the market is kind of at a buying opportunity or a selling opportunity. So,
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think currently, how many of those indicators like do you think have already hit?
I don't
Would you say
know.
like half of them or?
It's over half. It's
Over
over
half.
half. Yeah. And obviously everyone has their own list of
Yeah.
bottom signals, top signals. So, but I think my list is like 11 or 12 out of 14.
Ooh.
So my list is definitely leaning towards like we've already bottomed or we're very, very close. But at the same time, it could, bottom and then just kind of crab along for
Yeah.
a year or something. So I don't know. I don't know where we're going.
And I think like referring to these signals, bottom signals. So what are your current strategies right now? Like with this market, are you still holding or are you slowly trying to DCA in?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, right, a lot of people were buying ETH or SOL or whatever in November 2021. So if you really believe in Ethereum or you really believe in Solana and you were willing to buy at the top, then this is a much better opportunity, right? NFA, but it's an 80% sale on Ethereum right now. So, or I guess not as much now that we've had this little pump, but so yeah, I'm definitely scaling in. Like, is it possible that we go lower? Yes, but at the same time, I'm pretty confident personally that Ethereum will see an all-time high in the next several years. So that's like a 2.5x from here. That's not a bad
That's not
investment,
bad,
right?
yeah.
So, and stuff like Sol is a 5x or 7x or 10x to the all-time high. So if you believe an asset will recover that all-time high, it's probably a pretty good buying opportunity right now.
Yeah, and I think as the saying goes, it's better to just have more time in the market than time the market.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's, NFA, but looks like a good time to DCA right now.
Yeah.
For me as well.
Yeah, I agree. It's maybe it's not the perfect time, right? But it's an opportunity, and it's a better opportunity than buying the super Pico top, right? So I think people get over bearish in a lot of cases.
Yeah, I think in our Twitter Spaces a few weeks ago, you mentioned that you came from a TradFi background, right?
Yeah. I haven't ever worked, like on Wall Street or anything. I had a job in corporate finance at a startup, but was really my education, my undergraduate degree. Studied at uni, as the Samsung Airport. Studied,
not college.
Studied finance in college, and definitely that has colored a lot of the way I think about markets. But at the same time, crypto's a completely different animal. So definitely trying to sometimes apply like a TradFi lens to crypto markets, but sometimes to get rid of those biases that was like TradFi biases.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to looking at crypto projects, like what sort of financial metrics did you like carry over from the TradFi background and apply into crypto projects? Yeah,
that's a great question. It like even just 6 months ago or 9 months ago, I probably would have told you stuff like PE ratios and price sales ratios. There's a lot of kind of financial metrics that people look at, and trying to kind of evaluate crypto projects as like a business. I know there's an article recently called like Ethereum, a generational opportunity by a hedge fund manager, and he looks at Ethereum kind of as a software company or as a technology company and talks about how it's kind of undervalued from that perspective. I think that's a cool perspective, but at the same time, I've moved away from that framework a lot because so many of these projects like try to evaluate Axie Infinity on a PE basis, right? And it's like the worst company in the world, but it still pumps to $1 billion. And like obviously now Axie's it's basically gone to zero, but a lot of projects have basically gone to zero. But I've heard this quote, which is like, there's no reason to let a perfectly good bubble go to waste, right? So if you're only looking for like the good crypto projects on a value basis, you're gonna miss out on a lot of opportunities. So now applying TradFi to crypto, it's more to me like about risk management and some like macro perspectives, or making sure you have dry powder always available. Some kind of like more trading aspects of traditional finance. I think a lot of crypto people could benefit from. Yeah.
So you don't use traditional metrics to apply, or when, for example, let's say there's a new token that comes out, or you feel like there's another relatively big market cap token that you want to buy in. You don't look at the PE ratio first.
I mean, I might look at it, but it would definitely not be like the number one thing I'd look at. Or I'm not out here trying to look for the best, I'm not trying to buy the best projects by PE ratio or anything.
Yeah.
It's definitely like there's no harm in looking at these ratios, but in crypto, it's just such a different dynamic, and stuff really pumps based. When a lot of projects pump, they don't pump based on fundamentals.
Yeah.
So to deny yourself of that opportunity just because you don't think it's a good fundamental business or something is probably going to like lose you money in the long term, because there are so many of these opportunities that are, these huge, booms and bust cycles. And I think most of the people who are really successful in crypto and investing in crypto, they take advantage of these boom and bust cycles more than they're kind of trying to do fundamental analysis on any kind of crypto project.
Yeah, we talked about how you use the financial TradFi rules instead of TradFi ratios and metrics to assess crypto projects. So, are you currently looking at any like projects or chains which you think have strong fundamentals?
Yeah. Right now, I think Ethereum. There's a super strong bull case for Ethereum, fundamentally, because we're about to head into the merge, and then we'll see deflationary supply, and we really haven't seen that in crypto in very many places. This like the actual token supply decreasing. It's almost like a buyback, like a share buyback, right, in traditional finance. So I really am bullish on Ethereum, and I think it's very bullish for the asset Ethereum, but it's also bullish for the ecosystem as well. So Ethereum's one, and then from a fundamental perspective, and I'm not only bullish on assets with strong fundamental value, but like the core kind of financial primitives on Ethereum, or on a lot of layer 1 blockchains, in fact, like Uniswap or Aave or Compound, some of those projects that are really kind of like the DeFi building blocks on a specific chain. I think those have the strongest fundamental case, right? So, a GameFi project is kind of like a moonshot, right? Maybe it does 100x. Where like something like Aave is something that's gonna exist on Ethereum, and it's already achieved kind of like a product market fit, billions of dollars in total value locked. So really those kind of core primitives are the strongest fundamental assets that I see in crypto right now.
And how do you think you're gonna play like this Ethereum merge? So are you gonna go mostly on ETH, or are you gonna invest in like all those individual apps?
Yeah, I'm actually looking. I was just writing this morning about kind of how to play the Ethereum merge. Obviously, like ETH is the simplest play, and it's hard to ignore. Really strong. Like I think sometimes people get greedy and they try to like leverage trade ETH or something around the merge. That gets you wrecked in a lot of cases. So I don't want to deny the value of just owning, ETH and like staking it or owning like a staking equivalent. But I do think like some of the best options for trading the merge are platforms that allow you to like liquid stake ETH. So like Lido. I think if I had to guess, I think like Lido will outperform Ethereum over the next, several years. And I guess there are other projects like Rocket Pool or Stakewise that have the potential to kind of grab market share in the staking industry, and I think that's an interesting way to play the merge as well.
Do you think the market has priced in the merge already or not though? Like I feel like I'm not very bullish on the merge in terms of the price action, right? Because I feel like after post merge, right, the TPS on Ethereum is not a dramatic increase, right? Because the demand for ETH TPS is probably 1000x of what they can provide right now, right? Post merge, they probably cannot meet the demand for ETH, right? So actually, I'm not too sure.
Right. I think like ETH, the network, isn't drastically improved by the merge.
Yeah.
But I think the asset of like one Ether, right, one token of Ether, is dramatically improved, because lately we've seen in the last year, I think it's been an inflation rate of like maybe like 4 to 8% or something like that, where every year, there's 4%, there's millions of new ETH tokens that come onto the market from miners.
Yeah.
Once the merge happens, it will be a deflationary token.
Right.
So the way I kind of think about it is, for ETH to hold a static price, we need like ETH's market cap is what, $150 million or $150 billion or something like that. So you need $6 billion just as an example of new buying pressure to come in just to hold a steady price for ETH.
Right.
After the merge, when token supply becomes deflationary, we'll see the asset increase in price if no one buys it, right?
Right.
Because it's deflationary. There's less and less tokens, so it pushes the price up kind of in a natural state.
Got it.
So I think that's like the fundamental case to me for why the merge isn't priced in, because there will just be this kind of like fundamental demand pressure.
Okay.
I do think though it's fair to recognize that there are like tail risks, around the technology of the merge, right? So it's possible like ETH crashes to zero the day of the merge.
Oh,
like,
no.
like it's possible. I think it's quite unlikely, but there are those risks that make it, this asymmetrical bet that it's possible it kind of collapses to zero, and that would be bad.
And I think speaking of ETH, right? So I think another narrative which a lot of people are talking about, even the Binance report which just came out.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all talking about layer 2s, and how do you see that playing out like in this year and the coming few years?
Yeah, I remember I used to think of like the layer 2 trade as just this kind of cut and try, easy trade that would outperform ETH. Now I see layer 2s as very, very competitive with like alt layer 1s. So, I think Optimism is a direct competitor for Solana or for Avalanche or for, even smaller layer 1s, right? But I do believe in like the Ethereum scaling roadmap, and I think Ethereum has like the clearest path forward. And I think some alt layer 1s like might see scaling issues like Solana or Avalanche as they kind of scale up. But fundamentally, I am bullish on that trend, and I think I'm more looking at like layer 2s versus layer 1s than Ethereum versus like layer 2.
Okay, so aside from layer 2s, any other like trends that you see might pop up in the future?
Yeah, like on a personal level, I've kind of been exploring NFTs. I had never really explored the space, and it's been fun kind of checking out the NFT space recently. Trends I'm interested in, I'm interested in seeing kind of what drives new adoption. So looking potentially at, GameFi projects or like real world assets in some cases, or like peer-to-peer networks existing on chain. I think these are the like 0 to 1 advances that are going to drive a ton of new adoption. And then definitely looking for like category winners. So for Ethereum, some of those assets I mentioned earlier, like Uniswap has dominated, and I know they're like competitive on fees from a fee perspective with Ethereum itself, right? So even though they haven't turned on fees for token holders, I'm really looking at Uniswap as like one of those kind of core winners, like a Facebook, like FANG, right? FANG equivalents emerging in crypto, and I think that's a cool space to watch and to bet on those like winners and see them, if last cycle Uniswap was like a 0 to 1 improvement, now it's like a 1 to 100 improvement, right? It's about scaling that and creating that, the network effects around that, yeah.
You spoke about NFT, right? So today there was a news on by Tiffany.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that? Yeah. To mint it is basically 30 ETH, right?
So you mint the NFT and you get like an actual physical chain? Is that how it works?
Like yes.
Okay. And then do you have an NFT as well? Or
You
like,
have
how
the
does that
NFT.
work?
You have to have. Yeah.
Oh, you need an NFT.
You need a CryptoPunk, and then you
can
pay
mint
30
it.
ETH, and then they basically make your CryptoPunk into a
Right. I wasn't sure because I saw like so many memes around it, so I wasn't 100% sure of how it worked. I don't know, sure, it's cool. I guess it's cool. It's an interesting use case. Like people talk about is Ethereum money, like this ultrasound ETH money. And I guess that's a use case where like Tiffany is accepting ETH, not US dollars, right? So it's a kind of cool case of like crypto being used as actual money. So bullish.
Bullish. How
bullish
deep,
Tiffany.
bullish Tiffany. How deep are you into NFTs right now?
I've like lost money on some PFP projects. So I'm not,
we all have.
so I'm not good at picking the PFPs, but the space I'm really interested in is like generative art. So GM DAO, GM Studio is a project that I've been watching and minting a couple like niche generative art pieces. But that's a space. I don't know if it'll be successful, but I love the art, and like I think it's like the math behind it and some of the work behind it is very, very cool. And you know, it's an interesting use case of crypto for me because it's something that I'm interested in independently of like making a bunch of money off of it. Like the art is very, very interesting, and to watch like some of these DAOs work or these artists work is very, very cool to me.
Yeah, I think similar to the traditional art scene as well, right? Like people, like most of the art that people buy, they actually just they love the art instead of they don't go in with the mindset of flipping the art, but they just buy it because they love the art itself. And I think so you're pretty new to the NFT scene, so to speak. So do you have any like strategies on navigating the whole thing, or you just gonna like look at art you like and just buy and hope like they appreciate in price, like 100x or something?
I guess the only thing I've learned so far is like if it's popular on Twitter, it's not gonna be successful. It feels like every project that has gotten a bunch of momentum on Twitter. Like I remember Tubby Cats.
Yeah, you buy Tubby Cats.
I didn't buy, but I like bought on the first day like a Tubby Cat for 1 ETH or something.
What's the price right now?
0.1
I
ETH
don't
right now.
know. 0.1. I bought a few Tubby Cats as well because I saw everyone shilling Tubby Cats online.
Right, so like Twitter, I can't think of any. Like Goblins maybe was something that was on Twitter, and then they crashed afterwards. So still like 3 ETH or something, but yeah, it feels like all the Twitter NFTs just crash.
Which means you have to actually go and do the work and look for the alpha yourself instead of just following big Twitter accounts.
Right.
Which means you're probably too late if you find your info on Twitter. Okay, so we've come to the end of the podcast, and Jack, I don't think we want to keep you from exploring Singapore anymore. So before we say goodbye, do you have any last pieces of advice for our community?
Sure, yeah. I think the biggest advantage in crypto is kind of exploring for yourself and being connected, making friends in the community, right? It's been insane in Singapore to like meet so many people. Everyone wants to eat, dim sum or chicken rice or whatever. So, yeah, the biggest advantage is creating your own alpha, whether that's creating a community around you or building a Twitter presence or, checking protocols out for yourself and minting NFTs, just get engaged with the space and that will pay dividends long term.
All right, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. We've come to the end of the podcast, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.